Space, the final frontier. This is the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. Its mission to explore the solar system, to seek out new observations and data, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. And now the host of the Observer's Notebook, Tim Robertson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. Each episode, we share the latest discoveries, observing techniques, and stories from the people who explore the moon, planets, comets, and beyond. Whether you're looking through a backyard telescope or leading professional research, we're all united under one sky. I'm Tim Robertson, your host, and thanks for being here. Now, if you listen to the podcast in your car or on your phone, did you know you can now watch it too? That's right. The Observer's Notebook is now available in video right here on the ALPO YouTube channel. And here's another something interesting. Over 50% of the people watching or listening are not subscribed. So take a quick second, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell so you don't miss another episode. It's free, and it really helps grow the channel. The show is made possible by support from you, our listeners. And if you'd like to help keep the Observer's Notebook going, check out our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/Observer's Notebook. For just $1 a month, you're supporting the show. For $5, you get early access to new episodes. For $10, you receive a copy of the Novice Observer's Handbook. And for $35 a month, you'll be listed as a producer of this podcast. And of course, to learn more about the ALPO, visit www.alpo-astronomy.org, where you can join the organization for as little as $22 a year. Now, let's get started with episode 229 of the Observer's Notebook podcast. Enjoy. All right, on this episode of the Observer's Notebook podcast, we're talking eclipses. And this time it's a big one. On March 2nd, 2026, skywatchers around the world will experience a beautiful total lunar eclipse. This is one of the major celestial events of the year. And joining me to break it all down is the ALPO Eclipse Coordinator, John O'Neill. Welcome back to the podcast, John.
Hi, Tim. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and so before we get into it, why don't you give everybody a little brief of what being an ALPO Eclipse Coordinator means?
Okay, so basically when we have any kind of an eclipse, the ALPO invites members and non-members alike to go out and shoot images and submit those images to the ALPO to go into our archives. And also, some of them will go into the strolling astronomer. So we like everybody to get involved and participate in these eclipses. Of course, some of them are pretty far away and remote, but fortunately the one coming up in March is going to be visible throughout the United States. So,
yeah. Now, for listeners that might not be familiar with this event, what are the basics of a total lunar eclipse?
Well, the basics of a total lunar eclipse are quite different than a solar eclipse, of course. They usually they happen at night for the most part. This one, if you're on the east coast of the United States, it's going to be happening around morning time. So, but eclipses are great. You can go out and observe them with the unaided eye.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a camera out, and anything over, say, 135 millimeter lens. You can take images. You can use a cell phone. Some of the newer cell phones today have really good nighttime capabilities. So, lunar eclipses are a lot of fun, and they're not like a solar eclipse that only lasts 2 minutes and a half, maybe, if you're lucky. This one's going to last about an hour. Totality is going to last about an hour long. So, and they're quite interesting in that even once totality gets here and you're in the umbral portion of the eclipse, you can still see a lot of changes in brightness and in the Danjon scale, and it changes constantly as the moon moves through the Earth's shadow and gets into the deeper parts and then begins coming out of the deeper parts. During mid-totality, the moon should pretty much be totally dark, but during the incoming and outgoing phases of totality, you're going to see bright limbs, one in the beginning on one side and toward the end at the other side. So total solar eclipses are pretty fascinating. It's something that anybody can do with whatever equipment they have or don't. If you don't have any equipment, just go outside, get a nice comfortable recliner and sit back and watch. So
Yeah. Now, total lunar eclipses can only occur on when there's a full moon,
right,
because the Earth, the moon, and the sun all have to be lined up for the Earth's shadow to cast upon the moon. And with total solar eclipses, the sun, the moon, and the Earth are lined up, and the moon's shadow is cast on the Earth. So
yes,
the shadow of the moon's a lot smaller than the shadow of the Earth, which
yeah,
that's why totality on a solar eclipse is such small. The area is such smaller.
yes, exactly.
So where will this eclipse be visible, and what regions are probably the best to look?
Okay, so Europe's not going to see much. The east coast of the United States is going to get a decent show, but not as nice as what we'd normally like. The eclipse on the east coast of the United States isn't going to start until like 3:30 in the morning, 3:44 I believe it is. And it's going to be interesting this time because there's going to be a lot going on during totality.
What do you mean?
As totality is nearing its end, the sun is going to be rising and the moon is going to be setting, all while the moon is still in the total umbral phase.
Okay.
So we won't even see the end of the eclipse
Okay.
on the east coast.
All right.
And I can't give you exact times because it depends on whether you're on the east end of the eastern time zone or the western or the northern or the southern. All those times are going to change. So I'd recommend anybody that wants to watch this go out and look it up for their particular location.
Yeah. So for like me on the West Coast, it's 3 hours earlier in the evening that all these things take place.
So it's going to start at midnight for you.
Okay.
And the entire eclipse will have taken place, and the the moon will be back at its full brightness, and the eclipse will be totally ended by the time the moon sets and the sun rises. So that's going to be really nice for them.
That's good.
People out in the Pacific, Hawaii, they're going to get a good show. The central time zone of the United States is going to see the eclipse ending as the moon sets and the sun rises. So the further west you can be in the United States, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. Now,
basically.
You and I, we've seen dozens of total lunar eclipses in our lives.
Oh, yes.
Everyone is different, though.
Oh, yes.
And one thing you notice most is how dark or how bright the total eclipse moon actually is.
Yes.
Now, what are the factors that go into that?
Oh, that's basically geometry. As you said, there's a pretty big shadow, and where a solar eclipse, it just passes across very quickly. In a lunar eclipse, you have a great big shadow and a little tiny moon moving through it. So the center is much darker than the outer edges. So if the or the moon happens to be moving directly through the center of that big dark shadow, it's going to get extremely dark. And I remember the Texas lunar eclipse happened a couple years ago, was one of the darkest I had ever seen. I was taking images of the moon and having all the stars appearing in the image. That's how dark the moon actually got that time.
I remember that distinctly. It looked like there was a black dot in the sky.
Yes, yes. And others, you just get a big orange, blood red moon, and the stars don't really show up because it's so bright.
Mm-hmm.
The camera can't see the contrast between the moon and the stars.
Now, for those eclipses, though, you can still see lunar features on the moon.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
The the red makes it a little, it decreases the contrast a little bit, so it's a little harder to see details when it's really bright red. But when it's really bright red, it sure is beautiful.
Yeah.
So.
Well, also the Earth's atmosphere has a lot to do with what color
Sure,
the moon is
sure.
too. I mean, I remember years past when we've had like a major volcano on the Earth.
Yes,
It
yes.
makes the image different colors as well. So
Yeah, there's so much going on, and one of the things that really has me excited about what's going on in the eastern time zone of the United States is the moon is going to be very low when it's totally eclipsed. So that gives photographers a lot of opportunity to put foreground objects in with the eclipse, and I think that's really going to bode well. And I'm hoping ALPO is going to get a whole lot of submissions with foreground objects in it, because that's something you don't normally see.
right.
Like where you're at over on the East Coast, the moon's going to be relatively high up in the sky.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of opportunities to put foreground objects in.
Mm-hmm. So, if for someone starting out that's watching or listening to this podcast, what equipment do you recommend for beginners who want to enjoy the eclipse?
Well, for beginners, I would heartily recommend a smartphone. Anybody has a smartphone with a camera, with the caveat that if you're going to use your phone, I highly, highly, highly recommend putting the thing on a tripod. Mm-hmm. And they make tripods for cell phones now. And the other thing I'd recommend, if you're using a smartphone, don't push the button on the phone to take the image. There's apps where you can train the camera, so when you say shoot, it takes an image. There's apps, or there's little Wi-Fi modules that you can buy for under $100, and you can just click that and it'll set the phone off without you touching it.
Yeah,
and the reason I say that, because when you touch the phone, it tends to vibrate.
Yeah, but I've also used like the countdown or the timer on the
Oh,
phone.
yes.
Press the exposure and it'll wait 5 seconds before it clicks the exposure, and that does it as well.
Yes, that's a very good idea, Tim. I like that. And I've used that method a lot back before they had other methods of firing it. That's what I used.
Yeah.
So
for imagers or people that are more advanced with telescope equipment, what techniques or exposure settings, I don't know if you want to get into that, but help capture the darker phases of the eclipse?
yes, it's very interesting. A lot of people that don't do a lot of lunar photography don't realize how bright the moon is. And when you go out and shoot the moon, you're shooting at relatively fast shutter speeds.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get into an eclipsed moon and you're in the central portion of that shadow, the moon can be very dark, and you might have to shoot 5 or 6 second exposures. So I guess the best thing I can recommend is bracket your exposures. You know, when you go out and you think, okay, I'm going to need, say, a 60th of a second exposure, set the thing up to bracket 3 stops on each side of that. And you can do that in burst mode, and you can hit the button, and it'll take all 6 images back to back to back. It'll open the shutter and take the images and then close it, so you don't have a lot of vibration going on there.
Yeah, that's the advantage of a total lunar eclipse too, because totality lasts so long. It's not like you're scrambling during a total solar eclipse and hoping you get the right, the right exposure. Now, I plan on using my C-Star S50.
Oh, nice. I think I will too. Yes.
For the lunar, because I use it on solar eclipses too. It's a perfect solar eclipse telescope as well.
It is.
Yeah.
Any of those, the S30, the S50, the Celestron units, any of the smart scopes are great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd highly recommend them if you have one to use it.
Yeah. Now, are sketches or visual observations still scientifically valuable for the ALPO Eclipse section?
You know, I'm not sure how scientifically valued they are. It would depend on, I think, the expertise of the person drawing them. If the person is very astute at drawing and very good at it, then I think it could hold some scientific value. But if it were me, you'd have a stick figure moon there, and I don't think that would be very valuable to anybody.
Okay, well, but what about a report on the eclipse to send to the eclipse section? What would you like to see in a report?
A report is very valuable because it contains things that pictures sometimes don't. You know, if you have clouds moving through the image, and you can explain that in your report, that helps people understand why maybe parts are sharp and parts are blurry, and why parts are light and dark. And you can go into great detail as to what camera you used, what exposure lengths, what exposure times, what white balance settings. You can list every parameter that your camera had, and you can get that right out of the EXIF information on your image after you've taken it, if you're using something like a DSLR. And all that information in a report is extremely valuable because it gives you much more information than just the image. Now, ALPO does recommend you use their guidelines for images, and that you include certain information, not as in-depth as you would in a report, but they'd at least like to know, like, what exposure lengths, what exposure times, what time the image was taken, what focal length, information like that that's important and makes that image scientifically valuable.
Yeah. Now, once people observe the eclipse and they have their observations, their notes or whatever, they'll send them to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what do you do with them when you get them?
When I get them, I send them to the webmaster, and he puts them up on the website and puts them into the gallery. And then when it comes time for the next edition of the Strolling Astronomer, I'll put together some images and some reports and some text, and that'll all go into the magazine.
Okay.
Which is really cool. You know, it's nice for people to look and see their images in there and their reports, and so we highly encourage people to send this stuff in, and whether it's a cell phone image, image taken through a $10,000 apochromatic telescope, or just some little backyard thing you picked up at a flea market. You know, it's not it's not how much you spent to get the image that's important. It's the information that you compile while you take it. That's what really makes the ALPO so worthwhile and so valuable to both the amateur and the scientific community out there.
Very true. Now, total lunar eclipses are also great for public outreach.
Oh,
So, what
yes.
suggestions do you have for clubs, teachers, or families that want to do some type of public outreach event?
Well, it would have to be coordinated beforehand, of course. I would recommend clubs contact local schools or civic groups, or if they have their own observatories, to invite people to come to their observatory. I know here in Charlotte, or in the Charlotte area, a lot of our clubs do that, and we'll invite people out to our clubhouses, and we'll have a multitude of telescopes set up for people to look through. And if people bring their smartphones, they can actually hold them up to the eyepiece and take images through them. And
Yep.
we get to talk to everybody about what's going on and share a lot of our knowledge about what's going on during an eclipse. And so it's a really nice thing to see people getting involved in it. So I'd recommend, if you're in a club and you have the means, please invite people out and let them look.
Exactly. So, for people that are watching their very first ever total lunar eclipse, what would you want to tell them to pay special attention to?
Oh, wow. Everything. I still remember my very first eclipse, and it just blew me right out of the water. There was, I don't know, it just seemed like there was so much going on that even an hour didn't feel long enough to me. I was running around, at the time I didn't have equipment like I do now, and so I would have to put a camera on this scope because it's a 10-inch SCT and takes really, really good close-ups, and then I'd have to take it off and put it on my little refractor so I can get some wide field stuff in. But the main thing to watch for is probably the brightness. And how bright does it get? How dark does it get? Watch for the light bands on one side or another side, or above or below. Depending on where the moon passes through that shadow during totality will depend on whether you get a completely dark image or whether it's got a bright spot across the top or the bottom or the left or the right. So there, even though totality's totality, there's still a lot going on
Yeah.
during totality.
It's not all the same color, usually.
Yes,
They're very rare, like we mentioned earlier, a black dot in the sky, very rare. I don't think this one goes directly through the center. I think it's off to one side.
It is, yes. It's really crucial to watch all that stuff and try to garner as much information as you can out of it while it's happening, because once it's over, you're done.
Yeah. In the old days, I used to do crater timings.
Oh,
As the shadow would cross the moon, it would hit a crater, and the second it touched the crater, I would record that time. Then the second it was off that crater, I would record that time. And then when the end of the eclipse, I would do the same thing in reverse. So
yes.
that used to be scientific. Now it's not anymore. It's not, but it was fun to do.
Yeah, well, you can still do that.
Yeah.
WWV out in Colorado still transmits a time signal. Our phones are great
There they are.
timepieces, and they're extremely accurate, but they're not on time. They don't match what WWV does in Colorado. And if you've got any kind of
That's an atomic clock. Yeah.
a ham type radio where you can pick up that atomic signal, And we used to have a timekeeper who would be calling out times. So when we were doing those crater contacts, we would know exactly what instant that occurred at. And it was kind of like a big group project, and it was a lot of fun.
It was.
I kind of wish people would still do that.
I know.
Maybe I'll have to do something about that.
All right. Well, you're the man in charge. So.
All right.
So after this March eclipse, the next lunar eclipse for 26 is like in August.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that one, let's see, where's my paperwork here? Okay, that's going to be an interesting one, and I understand you are going to be involved with communicating some of that eclipse.
Well, it's total solar eclipse, yes, in Iceland.
Yes.
I'll be there.
Yes. So, from what I've seen, the chances of the weather being good in Greenland and Iceland that time of year, I don't think I would want to spend too much money going there and being clouded out.
Too late.
Yeah.
No, I've done a lot of cloud studies for Iceland during the time, and there's like a 60% chance of coverage. So for where the ship will be at the time, but the lunar eclipse that takes place, it's related to that in August as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know where that's going to be visible?
That one's going to be a partial. The moon at maximum is only going to be 96% covered.
Okay.
And that will be visible in North, South America, Europe, Africa, and parts of Asia. So that's going to be a pretty popular one. I'm hoping we're going to hear some more about that. And a lot of people are going to send images to ALPO. Oh, I do want to say, I forgot to mention it, the lunar eclipse that we're going to see on March 2nd, 3rd, that will be the last total lunar eclipse until, and this is, I think, pretty spectacular, New Year's Eve, 2029.
Oh, my.
So it's going to start on December 31st of 2028 and end on January 1st of 2029.
That's good to know.
That is pretty cool.
All right. I'll minimize my champagne consumption then.
Right. Oh, and also, if it's cloudy where you live during this lunar eclipse in March, Griffith Observatory will be broadcasting live images during the duration of the event, if it's clear there. But, I mean, it's always clear there, right?
It's always clear in California. No, never rains. No. Yeah. Great. So is there anything else you'd like to tell our observers before the March 2nd, 3rd eclipse rolls around?
Well, just please, guys, if you get out and you take images, please contribute them to the ALPO. We really, really enjoy putting everything together and getting it up on the website and getting everybody's images in the magazine that we can. Of course, we can't get everybody's in, but I'm sure if you get some nice foreground objects, there's a good chance you're going to get something in there. So
yeah, well, most of the observational reports that are in the journal too, you list all the observers that contributed. So if you contribute, it might not get published, but your name will definitely be associated with that article.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for that, Tim. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
So I think that's about all I've got.
Okay, John, I'll put your email address in the show notes. So following the eclipse, people can send off their reports and their images to you.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Tim. And as always, it's a pleasure doing interviews with you, and I look forward to maybe coming back in August and doing another one.
I'd like that. All
And
right.
hopefully you'll have some pictures for us then.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Right?
All right. All right, John. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
All right. Thank you, Tim, very much. And again, I'm always glad to join you
All
here.
right, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Observer's Notebook podcast. A big thank you to John O'Neill for coming on today and giving us all the insights about the upcoming total lunar eclipse. Get out there and observe it and send your observations in. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment and give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share the podcast. It really helps us reach more viewers. New episodes of the Observer's Notebook are released on the 1st and 15th of every month. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and of course, right here on the ALPO YouTube channel. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can do so through Patreon for as little as a few dollars a month, up to $35 a month, where you receive exclusive benefits, including one-year membership to the ALPO and producer credits on the podcast. You'll find for our link to our Patreon page and the ALPO in our show notes. And a special thank you, as always, to the producers of this podcast, Steve Siedentop and Michael Moyer, for their continued support. If you'd like to reach me directly, you can email me anytime at tim.robertson@alpo-astronomy.org. That's all for now. Clear skies. You can join the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers today. It's just this easy. You can become a valuable member of this International Lunar and Planetary Astronomy Organization, founded in 1947 by Walter H. Haas. It's based upon the structure of the British Astronomical Association. You can join various lunar and planetary observing sections, contribute to our massive archive of observations. You'll have access to our extensive lunar and planetary gallery of over 20,000 photos and observations of the sun, the moon, comets, meteors, and the planets. You'll receive our quarterly publication, the Journal of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. You have the ability to join the ALPO training program, which will teach you the finer points of making planetary observations. You can attend our annual virtual conference, and you'll have access to the Observer's Notebook podcast. Membership begins at only $22 a year. The way to find us, just go to your Google and type in ALPO Astronomy, and you'll see this prompt come up. There's our association with our website, alpo-astronomy.org, and you'll come to our homepage. If you look at the top of the homepage, it says Join ALPO. Click on that, and you'll come to the sign-up screen. It gives you the information on the organization, and there's two ways to join. You can join by mail, where you'll download a membership form, or you can pay online using PayPal. This is the PayPal processing page. You just fill out a few information lines, and then you're given the chance to click PayPal and join the association. Welcome to the ALPO.